All right. Good evening, everybody. If you can hear me and if you can, of course, see me okay, if you would go ahead and give me the appropriate response and we will jump right in and get started. Good evening to everybody. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Okay, so it looks like I'm getting some responses. Audio is pretty good. Video is pretty good. And we are getting ready to go. Go ahead and continue greeting one another as you come in. Tonight is going to be not totally different, but a little bit different. It's going to be a bit of Bible study along with the majority of it being a discussion / announcing ministry forecast as we go forward. Okay, so we appreciate all of you joining. Hey, listen, I wanted to push this back an hour to give people time to get in and to get settled. I want you to really focus on, really pay attention to what I'm going to be saying tonight. This is not just for the Lighthouse family, of course, because this is, of course, on our public page, but I want other people, no matter where you go to church, no matter where you pastor, I like to glean to help in ministry and also moving forward, helping our community and so on and so forth. So hopefully and prayerfully, this will also be a benefit to someone else as we further discuss the calls or the higher calling that God has for all of our lives as individuals and also in particular as a church, as a ministry. Good evening to everybody. Good to see all of you on tonight. I'm not going to prolong the time by doing like I normally do, trying to go down the list, but I see all of you on here tonight, and thank you so much, my brother and my sister, for joining us. Hey, if you haven't already done so, I know I say this a lot, but you want to share this, okay? Please do someone a favor and let them know, hey, you might want to tune in tonight. Good to see you, Sister Coney. You might want to tune in tonight to this broadcast, because I think it's going to be really beneficial to us. So do them a favor and share this, and also tag someone that you may think would be interested. Okay, so now let me say this to set a precedence as to how we're moving forward tonight. We've been on this topic for the past, I would say, 2 weeks or so. We've been talking about the calls. Okay, we talked about David and Goliath. When King James translation says that David responded to his brother Eliab by saying, is there not a cause? In other words, is there not reason? Is there not a purpose? Is what I'm saying or asking, is it not justified? In other words, don't you see what's before us? Does my actions not justify what I'm engaging in as far as conversation and inquiring about the situation? So we brought that home. We unpacked that for a few weeks, and we saw how we could really apply that to our personal lives and also to our lives as a local body, as a ministry. We need to focus on and reevaluate what our causes are. What are those objectives that we are trying to accomplish? Are my personal objectives, my personal ambitions, are they bleeding over into ministry? Are they bleeding over into those things which are to only be for God? Has the church, now we're speaking church-wise, has the church gotten off task? See, these are things that we need to ask ourselves. And we're going to address some things tonight. So first and foremost, let me just put this up there on the screen. Just two slides, and these are just refreshers to get us started. Okay, so here's that rhetorical question again. What is your cause? Now, as a pastor, I've been asking myself this question from day one. I told you guys from day one, those of you that were with us at the beginning of our tenure as lead pastors, I told you guys then, God didn't necessarily call me to preach, even though that's one of my gifts, is preaching and teaching. But God didn't necessarily call me to preach, but he called me to be an example. Hence the name change of the church, the Lighthouse, a city that's set on a hill that cannot be hidden, an example, a beacon of light to provide guidance in difficult times and so on and so forth. That has always been the call that's on our ministry. This is why we focus heavily on discipleship. If I had to describe the character and the personality of our ministry, of our church, it's no surprise to a lot of you. The foundation of our ministry is discipleship. That's what we focus on. Remember, I told you, or those of you that were in our leadership class, if you're going into what we call formal preaching and teaching, you will always have a word that you go back to. In other words, my focus is discipleship. So most of the time when you hear me preach and teach, I'm going to always go back in some way or form or fashion. I'm going to always go back to discipleship, because I believe that discipleship helps develop our cause. When we don't have discipleship, when discipleship is not the main focus of us as believers, of us as believers, then our cause gets off track. And so what do we mean by cause? I'm going to put that up there real quick, just as a refresher. It is a principle, an aim, or movement that because of a deep commitment, one is prepared to defend or advocate for. So we're talking about that aim, that objective, that goal. What is it that we're trying to achieve? What is that thing? That high calling that Paul was talking about in his writings. That thing that was greater than himself. What is that objective, that goal that is much bigger than how we feel and how people perceive us? That's the attitude and the personality that Paul had as it relates to the call that was on his life from Christ Jesus. So that's where we are today, and that's where we have always been. I really do believe with everything within me that that's where our focus needs to be as a church, as a community, as it relates to our households. We need to reevaluate what is the cause, what is our objective, what are the goals, what are we trying to accomplish, what is that thing that we're aiming at, as we discussed this past Sunday. I think it was what is it that we're aiming at, what are we trying to achieve? Sunday before last, is that what we talked about? So we have to reevaluate those things, especially as a Black community. Now, I've told you before, as a pastor who leads a church of color, a Black church, I am expected to be pro-Black. That is not saying that no one else's narrative or no one else's personal struggles or situations that are going on, that they're not important or they don't matter. One thing that I see in the Black community, in particular the Black church, oftentimes we draw back and we take down from our causes because we don't want to offend anybody. We shouldn't apologize for being proud of our culture. We shouldn't take down from the fact that we as a people of color, we have a cause also. There are certain objectives, there are certain principles and goals that we have. That is not saying, and then people want to throw stuff out there like, well, God doesn't see color. Well, he saw something for him to make diverse cultures and colors. By all means, yes, certainly God does see culture. And because God does see color, because God is a diverse God, we talked about the manifold wisdom of God being exemplified through the church. That is also through different ethnicities, through cultures, through ways of life. God can express himself in white, Black, or brown, or otherwise. So we should be proud of who we are. We should be unapologetically Black. We should be unapologetically who we are. I think that in our community, we have lost sight of our cause. And even when we take on certain causes, they are not causes that are relevant to our productivity, to how we move forward. I'm not going to go into detail, but there are some causes that are not worth us getting involved in because they're not really going to solve anything. I believe as a pastor, we should be forward thinkers. We've got the election coming up. We got certain things that are getting ready to take place across our nation and in our state and in our community, that if your causes are not in order, it's going to affect how you select in that ballot box. So you know, where we work, and I say we as pastors, where we work, our area of expertise, where we are at our best, it may not be on a corner, and I'm not going to get into that either, but y'all know I could. We are grassroots workers, because before the kids ever get a gun, before they ever become disrespectful to authorities, we're trying to nip that in the bud by teaching and preaching God's word, by being examples, getting right where it begins, because they don't come out of the womb with guns and masks on. Somewhere along the way in that house, during that parental responsibilities that were supposed to be there, somebody dropped the ball. Somebody neglected their responsibilities. So where do we come in as preachers and teachers? We preach standards. We teach order. We teach unity and commitment. We teach respect. We teach honoring God and all those things that should be in the home, which will keep your child. I'm not going to get loud. I'm not preaching. Which will keep your child, which will keep your daughter from pulling a mask on and pulling a gun and shooting guns on the block. So my question is, who's doing the greater work? And I don't like comparing, because I believe everybody contributes in their own way. But I have a problem when people say that some people, namely pastors, are not contributing or not really getting involved and making a difference, when we are the ones. I'm going to say this again, and I wish I want to say somebody to say amen. But anyway, when we are the ones who are working face to face with these parents, with these children, we're having to counsel, we're having to visit, we're having to do all of these things with the hopes and the intent and the aim that we are going to keep them from those type of activities and actions that go on that are detrimental to their future. So here's where the rubber meets the road. Our causes have gotten off track. We want numbers, quantity instead of quality. And so now you got a whole bunch of folks, hypothetically speaking. So now you got a whole bunch of folk, but the home is unstable. Been preaching this for years. And years. Because the cause has to be there. So I'm, Lighthouse members, y'all know I'm a huge advocate for voting. I'm a huge advocate for our community as people of color. That's why I preach and teach like I do. That's why I live the example that I do. That's why I'm very particular and very selective in what I get involved in. Okay? Because our cause, watch this. And I'm getting ready to make a few announcements. Watch this. If you notice in our community, now you don't want to miss this because I'm getting into it now. In our community, notice how it's always us who's trying to get a seat at the table. Lighthouse members, y'all know where I'm going because I've said this and preached this over the years. We're always the ones who are trying to get a seat at the table, whoever table it is. But it's always seemed like us, well, we got to get a seat at the table. And watch this. I'm going to go even deeper. And it's always seemed to be us, people of color, who get excited and think that we have arrived because another race invites us to get involved with something that they're doing. You'll never see the opposite. You'll never see that in reverse. You'll never see that in reverse. But it's only us, those of us who seemingly don't have a cause, don't have an aim, don't have a goal. And when you don't have a cause, you will never have a table. Somebody need to put that in the comment section real quick. If you don't have a cause, you will never have a table. Well, Pastor, what do you mean by a table? The table that Martin Luther King wanted us to have, where we invite people to come and sit at our table and have discussions and hear our objectives, to give them the opportunity to come alongside of us with our cause. Okay? So this has been my goal. This has been my objective for years. I don't have a problem with having a seat at the table, but I do have a problem with us not having a table to invite people to sit at. Economically, socially, education-wise, spiritually, it seems like all we have become is consumers, where people take advantage of our insufficiencies and inadequacies. They see us as opportunities for them to prosper. But as I preach and teach and I do what we do in my personal life and also the things that we carry out in ministry, it is with the hopes and the intents that we would be able to create and build our own table. If you don't have a cause, you won't have a table. If you don't have a real cause, you will not have a table to invite people to sit. Other races have a cause. They have an economic cause. That's why they send their children to certain institutions. They teach them about finance. They teach them about certain things. But watch this, and I don't care if I offend somebody when I say this. This is why I have a problem with the church teaching superstition. Because that's all it is. It's not scriptural. We don't teach them the responsibility of finances and being good stewards, those things that the Bible actually teach. But it's that superstitious stuff. Sowing this and sowing that, and we still don't have a table. Been sowing and you've been giving and doing, and y'all wonder why I say that a lot. Even my wife says, boy, you keep saying that. Yes, I do. Because one of our Achilles heels as people of color, one of our main Achilles heels is the lack of wealth. And when someone stands in the pulpit and further enables people's irresponsibility with money, I have a problem with that. I do. I have a problem with people, and they want to pull the Bible into it and try to twist the scriptures. And it's further enabling our people of color to be irresponsible when it comes to finances. Yes, it does. It further teaches irresponsibility. Not sow your money into the stock market like I've been doing and my wife. Not sowing your things into your future. Not sowing your money into life insurance and so on and so forth. But sow your $5.50 into this and then pray and hope God and watch God do something. That's irresponsible. Why can I say that's irresponsible? Because the Bible doesn't teach that. The Bible doesn't teach that. I'm going to say that for the third time. The Bible does not teach those types of principles. It doesn't. It does not. It's irresponsible as leaders, especially leaders who are leading supposedly people of color. We struggle financially, creating and developing wealth for our children, for our generations to come. And churches, who are supposed to be the backbone and foundation of our communities, if you study historically, are leading people further down the road of irresponsibility. And that is why. Now, number one, are y'all ready? I wish more people were on here because now if I did my little Bible study spiel, I gave you the spiritual aspect of it. And so if you know somebody who's not on, they can hear it firsthand live. I know they can go back and watch the replay, but they can hear me live right here. If they have any comments or questions, they can participate right here live, because watch this. Number one, let me give you a ministry forecast for our church. Number one, my wife and I have been discussing this for about 4 or 5 years now. We actually discussed it also with Sister Tracy Davis. We mentioned it in passing for a few years ago. There were things that I've always wanted to do in the ministry. And I've been praying and praying. Some of you, I've spoken to you individually. I've been praying about certain things in the church that involves our community of color. And the Lord has answered those prayers and has allowed us to do something in the ministry that I believe that's going to help our community. We're going to start out on a small scale because that's where we are, but don't despise small beginnings. So hear me out real good. I have an agent coming. We haven't established a date yet. As a matter of fact, I'll talk with him again today. And even he was a bit surprised at what I presented to him. I've already mentioned this to the staff. I think it was last Thursday as we were discussing some other things that I'm going to mention. As soon as we have this meeting with him and we have some of the details ironed out, all of our men, we're starting with the men, all of our Lighthouse men who are members of the Lighthouse, if you do not have life insurance, we are going to provide life insurance for you. We're going to pay your premium. So the church is going to pay your premium for your life insurance so you can leave something for your family, for your children. If you want to enhance your life insurance, I'm not talking about putting the church as a beneficiary. I'm not talking about pastor and first lady being your beneficiary. You can get a life insurance policy, put down the beneficiary of your choice. Hopefully it's your family. So you can leave an extra $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to your family. And the church will pay your premium. Okay? We're going to start on a small scale. Eventually, what we want to do is to be able to extend this to the entire community, especially men. I know y'all say, well, that's a bit ambitious. Well, I thought we would never be able to do what we're doing now. But look at God. God has allowed us to start on this small scale. If there are some men who may not be in the workforce, you don't have life insurance. Now, hear me. Let me tell you why I'm doing this. I'm not talking about life insurance for somebody to bury you. I wish I had 1,000 people watching this of color. I wish I had 1,000. I wish I had 50,000 people watching this of color, because let me tell you something. A life insurance policy is not for just burying somebody. We are the worst at getting life insurance policies to say, oh, they had a nice homegoing service, and you give $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, and he's a wonderful guy, by the way. We give all of that to Harris Funeral Home, and we give the rest of it to Thomas Flowers. That's my classmate down there. She owns that business. I love her to death. But life insurance was never meant to provide just for putting somebody away. Other races have taken advantage of these opportunities. And guess what? In our community, we don't have a lot of doctors, lawyers, professionals. We do have them. But for a lot of us, a means of leaving wealth, some type of wealth for our children, is to have a good life insurance policy. Let me say this. It's been going on 3 years now, and I've always been a forward thinker. And like I said, I wish 100,000 people was on here. When my sister passed, and I haven't said a word, even though some people said this, some people said that, but I refuse. Remember, I told y'all we travel light as a family. We don't address certain things. So, but this is the perfect time for me to say, because it goes along with what we're talking about. When my sister passed, she had a very good life insurance policy. Okay, she had a very good life insurance policy. That's just the way we were raised. That's the way we were taught. But on top of that, because I'm a forward thinker, especially as a leader, I told my mom, I said, Mom, I remember how they did Dad. There were 2 van loads and a pickup truck full of flowers. 2 van loads and a pickup truck full of flowers. I said, now, I think it would be beneficial to you, because my sister had plenty to put her away. But I saw an opportunity. People are going to buy flowers, flowers, flowers. And who's going to benefit from that? The flower company, Thomas Flowers and other flower companies. They benefit once again off of us. Let's just call it like it is. They benefit off of us. So I took the liberty, with my mom's permission, and I hope some of you follow suit. Stop worried about what people are going to think. That was one of my mom's concern, and different people in the room, as we were discussing. Well, people going to think we ain't got no life insurance. Well, if you're going to move forward, if you're going to be a forward thinker, a progressive person, you can't worry about what people think. So I took the liberty, with my mom's permission, to say, hey, those of you that would like to show your considerations toward my mother in this time of loss, would you consider a monetary donation instead of flowers? And let me tell you something. That was very beneficial and helpful to my mom. Beyond having a nice service for my sister, which she so certainly deserved, now my mom had not a whole bunch of flowers, but she actually had something that she could use after the funeral was over. You can't worry about what people think. My mom told me afterwards, she said, well, some people were asking her, y'all don't have no life insurance? Come on now. And my mom said, come on now, we're leaders. Y'all should know us. But because that was all me behind the scenes, I told my mom, I said, Mom, let me type this up for you and ask the people if they would consider a monetary donation instead of flowers. Why? Because I'm very concerned about my Black people. I am. In any way that I can see that could help us, I'll do that. And that was one way that really helped my mom as an elderly woman of color with a special needs child. Yes, my sister had good life insurance and had a little bit left over to help my mom out. But that consideration further helped her in some other areas and also during the grieving process. Listen, don't be worried about what people think. I never said a word. Because I'm not going to disrespect my sister's legacy and her memory by trying to address people who are saying, you ain't got no life insurance. No, I have always been a forward thinker. Listen, I've always had a problem, and some of y'all, it's maybe a shocker. I have a problem with the church only just having events and marching and praying and marching and vigils and praying and marching and programs and events, but not doing a thing, but telling people, give this amount, give that amount. We're having this rally. To do what? That's always been, and I knew one day God was going to allow us to do it, and that day has come. So we're going to have a sign-up sheet in the foyer area on this coming Sunday. We're going to have a sign-up sheet in the foyer area. As of right now, we can only accommodate men because they're the heads of the house and so on and so forth. Right now, we can only accommodate the men. There is a cap. There will be a cap. Giving you some details. There will be a cap on the premium because, of course, we're not going to pay $1 million policy or a $600,000 policy because the premium would, of course, be more than we can handle. But as Mr. Wilson is going to come down, he's going to discuss with all of us what would be feasible, the range that we're looking for. I would love to have where we can get around in the range of somewhere between $10,000 to $15,000 to $20,000 beyond just burying somebody. Something that you can say, okay, here's this check for my family. And they can take that $15,000, $20,000 and they can start that business. They can send their kids to college and so on and so forth. And just think about it, y'all. Just think about if that becomes the norm. Now I'm speaking. I've done this already myself. Okay, you don't have to have what I have. I have a 6-figure life insurance policy because I don't want my wife and my daughter or whoever just to bury me. I want to leave something for my grandchildren. I want to leave something for my son-in-law and my daughter, where they can take that wealth. They're already into real estate. They bought their first house. And I want them to be able to go into real estate and purchase that apartment complex like they're talking about and so on and so forth. Create wealth. And listen, to be a real blessing, you got to be a blessing beyond the grave. And I told God, I said, I may never live to see it, but I want to make an impact on whatever you're going to do after I'm gone. So I want to contribute. I was talking to Tim Jackson and some other people at a homegoing service. And I say, when you get to a certain age, it's not about what you can get. It's not about, me, what you can get, who like me, what I can get, what I wear. The older you get and the wiser you get, it's about what you can leave. It is about the legacy, the impact that you can make. So now our church, it's not about building a church. Some people thought we were going to get on here and announce that we were getting ready to build a church, and we could. I'm just be honest. But we're not busting out of the seams. Yes, we could. Yeah, yes. Church could use a little bit of updating and so on and so forth. But that's not our cause. That's not our cause. Our objective as a ministry is not just to have a nice building. I wish I had 500 people on here. Our objective as a ministry is just not to have a lot of nice looking stuff, but it's to help our community. So this is how we're going to do it. We're going to start out with right here. So we're going to let you know when the date is, menfolk, Lighthouse member, men. We're going to let you know when that date is. We're going to have slots, so many slots that can be filled as far as men who would like to participate in this opportunity, get involved in this opportunity. We're going to set the ranges as far as where it's 15, 20, maybe we can do 25, depending on what Mr. Wilson can tell us. But, excuse me. So we're based off of that. I would like to do no less than $10,000 to $12,000, or 15, 20 if we can. Okay. So we're going to do that. We have an allotted amount. We have an account just for that. Think about this, y'all. Especially for me with the Church of God, Cleveland, Tennessee. Every month we send off a report. We send off a monthly report to Church of God, Cleveland, Tennessee, and also to the state office. That's money that goes to missions and church building and all, starting church. Very meaningful, important things. But I was thinking about that also. How much are we contributing to our community as people of color? Now, don't get me wrong. Church of God, Cleveland, Tennessee is a very diverse organization. Okay, so we're not saying that. But we do have to consider, what are we doing when people are giving? Think about this, y'all. When people are giving, they're paying tithes, and you can call it whatever you want to call it. Okay, I'm not going to get into that. The Bible New Testament only teaches on giving, generous giving. But anyway, the people give, they contribute to the ministry. For what? Y'all ever thought about that? Anybody ever thought about that that's watching? You give to, I have most of my Christian walk. When I contribute to the church, I think that we're just giving towards what? Giving towards what? I do. If I'm giving, I want to be giving towards, here's that word again, a cause. I don't want to just be giving just to be giving, but as a man of color, belonging to a church of color, what is this church doing to truly make an impact and a difference in our community as a people of color? I want to know that. And I'm a pastor. I want to know. And this is something, again, this is something that I didn't want to put it out there too soon. I didn't want to show my hand. I told y'all about Joseph's coat of many color. You know, the maturity of Joseph showed when he tried to share certain things too soon. So I wanted to wait until this thing was actually in motion and it was actually going to be a real thing. And it's here. My wife and I and others have been praying about this. And this is just the beginning. Now, like I said, we're not going to show our hand. There are many other things. And this has just shown me that God is faithful to his word. I didn't think that we would ever be able to do something like this, no matter how small or insignificant it may be to some people, but it is major. And I think that one day we're going to be able to extend this even beyond the church to men of color in our community who don't have life insurance. And let me just say this. I challenge other ministries to do the same thing. I do. If you know somebody, if you're on here tonight and you're not a part of the Lighthouse, if you know, listen, this is not a Lighthouse thing. This is a black community thing. That's what this is. If you're a pastor, you go to another church, whatever the case may be. I wish all churches of color in particular would adopt this same philosophy. That, you know what? We can do 5, 10, 15 men in our church. We're gonna pay your life insurance premium, so that when you leave this earth, you're gonna leave some type of wealth for your family, other than having a nice homegoing service. That's not what it's for. Okay, we want to go beyond that. Now watch this. This is even if you have life insurance, but your policy can only be enough. You may only have about 10,000. Well, that's going to just about cover a funeral. Y'all know how some of y'all know it gets expensive. It can be expensive. That's about going to cover a funeral. But we're talking about beyond that. So if you want a policy beyond that, you want to leave 10 again. You want to leave 10, 15, $20,000. And if that premium, of course, is going to depend on your age and other things. We're going to discuss all of that. So if that is reasonable within our scope of what we're looking for to pay a premium, if you can get that 10, 15, $20,000, then by all means, please, brother, we encourage you to do that. Do that. You'll be surprised how much that would be a blessing to your family. Okay? So that's number one. Any questions on that? Like I said, we're going to have a sign-up sheet in the foyer area on this coming Sunday for our men. We're going to start there. And I've already told one of the brothers today, depending on how this looks, how many participants we get, how the church grows and progresses in the future, our next phase is to extend it further to our single women who are heads of households. You know, right now we're just starting where we can, but as it grows, we're gonna keep extending it further and further and further. Okay, so that so you single mothers out there, and I say single mother, but it may be some grandmothers, grandparents. So we're going to extend that to you guys as well, but we're starting where we can right now. And that thing, I want you to know this tonight, y'all, because I want to know what your contributions to the ministry are doing. I want you to, I've had it up to here with all this frivolous giving and gimmicks and stuff. And our people of color, especially in the church a lot of times, can barely get by. So let me encourage all the men that are watching tonight, get you a life insurance policy that's adequate enough for a proper or adequate burial, however, whatever that level of standard that you like or your family would desire for you, but something beyond that, that's going to be, something that can really help your family as they move forward. Listen, we're not going to have a voice. Some of y'all wonder why it's so important. Some of you already know. Until we have economical influence in this country, no, we're not going to have a voice. We got to start somewhere, though. Until we have economical influence. Why do you think those lobbyists, when they're lobbying in Washington, those lobbyists, what do they have? Money. Most of the time, those lobbyists, because they have economical influence, they have money, they have influence, so they can kind of persuade, get certain things done in their favor in Washington. Why? Because they have money. And what do we do a lot of times? March. We march. We pray and we march. And we have events and we march and we pray. Okay? We got to call it like it is, y'all. And I'm a pastor saying this. And by no means, don't nobody think I'm trying to belittle or disregard prayer. That's not what I'm saying. But y'all get what I'm saying. We got to do more than all this talk and trying to grandstand and see who has the best speech when we have these events and have these gatherings. Who can say the cleverest things, and it ain't helping us at all. And by the time, people use us for our votes and then they get in positions, they're not even concerned about our issues because they've gotten from us what they wanted, and that's our vote. And we have no more influence because we are what? We lack economical influence. And guess what, y'all? We have money. We have money. Yes, we do. Look at all the crab legs and all the shrimp and all the cruises and all. We got money. We got money. It's just that we've got to be taught economical literacy. That's what we got to be taught. So there ain't nothing gonna change with all this marching. I'm just being real. All this marching and all this prayer visuals and prayer standing on the courthouse steps and all, and it's a great photo op. It's a great publicity, great, but it ain't making no difference until we start building our own table. So look at this, what we're doing we're a small church, but hopefully this is something that will catch on. This is how you build a table and invite people to come sit at your table. This is how you get out of this always having to have a seat at somebody else's table. And half the time when you sit at their table, they already have an agenda laid out. They just want you to agree with it. So how do you build a table? You put the legs on that table by having wealth. That's where the support is. Anybody with me so far? That's how you build a table. A good table has sturdy legs. And the table that we need as people of color is economical influence. Let's call it like it is. Let's call it like it is. So now this little old church in Coffee County in Douglas, Georgia, we're going to contribute on the level and in the way that we can. And starting this Sunday with the sign-up sheet, every member, black male member of the Lighthouse Church, sign up on that sheet, and we're going to have a meeting set. He's supposed to call me back tomorrow with the date that he can come down, and we're all going to have a discussion with him. You're going to have the opportunity to see what's best for you. Like I said, and we're going to go from there. All right. So now, last but not least, anybody got any questions on that? If you do, just post them, and I'll do my best to go back and watch this later. Let me see if I may have missed some questions. Give me just a moment. I'm trying to see if I have any questions on here I know I went on for a minute. Okay. All right. So I don't see any questions. Like I said, hopefully I covered everything best I could. I wanted to give you the cause. The why. Why is that so important? Why is that such a need? And what are we doing to support that cause? Well, this is what we do. We're not just going to pray and lay hands on folks and have good church, but we're going to make good use of the resources that we do have access to. And we're going to turn around and make that money work for us. Okay. No beneficiary on there as a church. I'm going to reiterate that again. Don't talk about I'm put Pastor First Lady on there as my beneficiary. You put your family on there as your beneficiary, and the church is going to pay that life insurance premium beyond just you having a funeral. Okay. All right. Okay. So last thing I want to mention real quick, I want to say thank you, a big thank you to Sister Paula Johnson. I think she's on here tonight. Sister Tracy Davis, our youth coordinator, because there's something else that we want to implement starting this year. Matter of fact, next month on June 7th, we're going to have our first summer camp. Okay, we'll have our first summer camp at the Lighthouse. And matter of fact, let me put this flyer up for you real quick. This is also working towards the cause. What did I just mention earlier? Way at the beginning of my rant. Before the children ever get involved in all of these type of illegal activities and so on and so forth, something somewhere went wrong. Something at the foundation went wrong. Parental responsibilities, not doing our due diligence, not being involved like we should. Watch this. Parents being overwhelmed with certain responsibilities. Single parent homes, they're trying to work and provide and pay bills and trying to see about little Johnny and little Sally, and it just becomes overwhelming. Well, how can we help in that area? Well, we can provide a summer program. Okay. So that summer program is going to begin. Let me put this up here for you real quick. It is going to begin on, let me put that up there for y'all. Let me turn this off. And let me put this up there for you on the screen. There we go. Again, the foundation of our ministry is discipleship, right? Focusing on our cause, our objective. Where do we lack in other areas in our Black community? The family structure, the family structure, the foundation, the soundness and integrity of our homes. That's another area where there's a deficit in our Black community. Now, again, and I encourage anybody who's watching, you don't have to be a member of the Lighthouse and so on and so forth, but you gotta, and I told somebody this, when you go in ministry, you've got to evaluate the area that you're called to minister in. Okay, you can't minister in Douglas like you're in California. There may be other needs and concerns that are in California in the metropolitan areas that are not necessarily major issues in a rural area like Coffee County or Douglas. So after evaluating where God has called us to minister, we don't need another church service, y'all. We go, a couple of things we do down here in Douglas. We're going to go to church and we're going to eat. We're going to do those two things. But the home, the integrity, the soundness, the prioritizing of the home, the order, the structure of the home is lacking. So I'm telling you this because we're not doing this just to see how many people we can get to come. We're doing this because this is an area of concern where God has called us to minister. So we're going to start a youth camp starting June 7th through the 9th. That's session 1, which is week 1. And this is going to be every week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I'm going to say that again. Every week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, starting June 7th. That's the first week. We're calling that session 1. June 7th through the 9th, beginning at 8:30 a.m. Okay? Instructors, teachers are going to be there at 8 a.m. And thank you to the volunteers who have contributed their time toward this youth camp. Meals will be provided, breakfast and lunch. So we have at the present, so hear me good on this, we only have 25 slots. We have 25 slots available because we have to be mindful of the people that are able to lend their time, that ratio to children. Okay, so we're trying to make sure that the volunteers, that ratio of volunteers to participants are adequate enough for them to do a sufficient job. So we don't want our volunteers to be overwhelmed. Okay, so that's why we come up with that number, 25 slots that are available. And there will be adequate volunteers each day to accommodate the teaching, the instructions, the outings, because there will be outings and so on and so forth for those sessions. So beginning June 7th through the 9th, that's week 1, session 1, beginning at 8:30 a.m. to 12 noon. That will be week 1. Session 2 or week 2 will be June 14th through the 16th. Same times, 8:30 a.m. to 12 noon. They will have breakfast and they will also have lunch. All right, that will be provided. And we have those meals have been outsourced, if you will. So this is something that has been contributed. I'm not going to get into details about that, but the meals will be at no cost to the church, but they have been provided and donated, outsourced by a nonprofit that's going to accommodate us during this time. So thank God for, again, Sister Paula Johnson for coming to us with this information. Okay, so now let me put up the next one. The next slide is give just a little bit more detail. Okay, so the theme is going to be faith over fear. Pretty sure a lot of you have heard that. That comes from the thought of what is it that keeps our children from expressing themselves as believers of God, as Christians. Well, a lot of time it's the fear. Fear of what? Fear of not fitting in, fear of not being accepted, fear of not living up to that title that they carry as Christians. I hear that a lot. Well, I don't want to call myself a Christian because I may mess up and I may not do this right. I may not do that right. So we can say that in the grand scheme of things, that there's some fear involved there. So this is going to be our theme for this entire summer. Okay. And I say the entire summer, and you probably say, well, this is only 2 weeks. Well, it's going to go beyond these 2 weeks. But what we're going to do, we're going to evaluate after every 2 weeks. So we'll have session 1, which is week 1, session 2, which is week 2. And then we're going to have a time where we evaluate and see how things are progressing, how much involvement, what staff members, y'all know I say this during every staff meeting. What do we do well? What have we not been doing well? What can we do away with? What do we need to implement? So after every 2 weeks, after every 2 sessions, we're going to have a staff meeting, if you will, and we're going to evaluate how things are progressing. But ultimately, our plans are to extend all the way through July the 26th. Okay. Now, if you see on the slide that you have on the screen, the cost for t-shirts and activities are $10. That's for the duration of the camp. $10, which will accommodate their t-shirts and also the other activities that they will be engaging in. Okay, so you can contact Sister Paula. You have the number on the screen there. Or you can contact our youth coordinator, Sister Tracy Davis. You have her number on the screen as well. There's going to be a sign-up sheet at the church for this as well on this coming Sunday. And if you can reach out to them before that, you can go ahead and sign up. And the packet that they have actually has a QR code on it where you can scan that QR code and you can go ahead and sign up. Okay. So you don't have to wait till Sunday, even though they will be posted up. They'll be set up Sunday. They'll provide you further information, the packets, further details as it relates to some of the places that we'll be going. I know myself, Brother Carlos, those who are bus passenger driver certified, we'll be taking them to different places depending on what they decide on each week. Because we believe that exposure helps our children. Okay, they got to know that there's more out there than the block. They got to know that there's a bigger world out there beyond Douglas. So we're going to do our best. Like I said, we can't change the world, but we can change our immediate surrounding. We can impact that. So we're going to do what we can on the level and the scale that we can. So we're going to be loading up that bus once a week. We're going to be taking them to different places so they can be exposed to something beyond their immediate surroundings. And you'll be surprised at how that really, really makes an impact in a child's life. Okay, so that is something that we're implementing. Like I said, these things that I mentioned tonight, they're going to be posted in the foyer area on this coming Sunday. But if you want more information before that, if you want to consider signing up before that, you can call either one of those numbers on the screen right there, Sister Paula Johnson or Sister Tracy Davis, and they can go ahead and get you signed up. Again, there are only 25 slots available for the summer camp. Okay. The location will be between the church and our offsite location and beyond. I say beyond because it could be somewhere else. But every week you will have a forecast and agenda for that week that will give you specific details as to what that week will look like. Okay. So now that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you tonight. Let me reiterate this again. This is only the beginning. It's only the beginning. There are some things, as I told you before, those of you that heard me preach about Joseph and his coat, that we are not going to share right now. Okay. It's not the time to share it, but just know this, we've been praying fervently about some things, and God has shown himself to be faithful. God has shown his approval as well as to the things that we've been praying about, because we don't want to pray amiss. So God has provided the means for us to do what we're doing. And let me just say this again. If for any reason you doubted how God really requires us, our approach to giving, this should tell you. This should tell you. This should make things clear. Okay? So we're not a church of superstition and trying to twist the scriptures and so on and so forth. But when we take the word for what it says and don't add nor take away, there's a lot of adding going on, like the Pharisees, and there's a lot of taking away going on. But when you just preach and approach the word, preach and teach the word for what the word is actually saying, because watch this, there is a proper way to interpret scripture. It's not about, well, this is what I believe and I think it says this and this is the way I was taught. No, there is a way that the scripture is supposed to be interpreted. And I can't remember what the Bible study lesson was in my closing, but it said there was a statement that we read that wisdom will prove itself in the end. Of course I paraphrase, but it was something along those lines. You know, it kind of relates to truth marches on. Just keep preaching truth. Just keep living truth. Just keep walking in truth. It doesn't matter what other people say. After a while, truth/wisdom will show its validity. It will show its authenticity. Just keep living it. And this is not shade on anybody. Just keep looking at the lives. I'm not talking about these moments, sporadic moments. Just take notice of the lives that people live, that live by these superstitions, because that's all they are. Just look at their lives versus, watch this now, I stand by what I preach and teach, which is the word of God. More to come. Keep watching. Keep watching. If you got people that still debate this stuff and still trying to get you to subscribe to this stuff that we've been taught traditionally over the years, just keep watching. I don't know about you, but I've been watching for 20 something years. I've been watching and I don't see no wealth. I don't see no change. I don't see no growth financially. I don't see none of that. I don't see none of that. I don't see none of that. But what I have seen in this short period of time, I have seen God confirm his word, not ours. Because I would have never thought that it would come this soon. I never thought that we would be able to do something. I knew we was going to be able to do it one day, but I never thought that we'd be able to do it this soon. Never thought. Like I said, what's on people's mind is, I have people, and they mean well. People stop me and say, well, when y'all going to build that church? When y'all going to build that church? When y'all going to build that church? And I didn't, like I said, I'm a mature Joseph. I didn't say anything. But in my mind, I'm saying, our objective is not to build a church. It's to build people. We're not trying to build a church. Our objective is not to have a nice church, a nice building. Our objective is to build people, not a church, not a building. Because watch this. If you build people, the church is going to come. The building will automatically come. Because as you build people, you will have the need for the tools and the facility to accommodate the people that you're building. Y'all see that? But all the time we try to build a building without first trying to build the people. And that's why you got to come up with these gimmicks and penny on the wall and all these gimmicks and trying to raise money and raise this. Just build the people. Build the people. And everything else will come. Our cause, our objective is not to build a building. Right now at this moment, I want y'all to hear me real good. Right now at this moment, we could start building a building. We could have people give and paying on a mortgage. But how is that going to help our community? By putting up another nice building. Here's our approach. Just build the people. Stop trying to build a ministry and build a building and build popularity and just build the people. That's all you got to do. Y'all know that? Y'all watch that? Anybody familiar with Field of Dreams? Y'all remember that movie Field of Dreams? Some of y'all that are age appropriate in Field of Dreams, Y'all remember that famous saying in Field of Dreams? It says, if you build, you know that voice that was telling that man, if you build it, they will come. And the church, sadly, that voice has whispered in their ear, if you build it, they will come. It's not about building and somebody coming. No, just build our community. Just build the people. Make the people the priority. Just make the people the priority. That's right, Sister Linda. She's seen that movie. And they're working on building, and hoping that'll draw people. No, make the people the priority. I want to see my black people with wealth, with money, with influence. That's what I want to see. And if you get that, the byproduct of you building people will be this other stuff. Doesn't that make sense, y'all? Doesn't that make sense? But and I'm not bragging, just trying to help y'all. The reason that my wife and I were able to build, I'm not talking about we Rockefellers, but the reason that we were able to build what we built for ourselves to have a comfortable life that we have is because we allow God to build us first. Okay? When you allow God to work on you first, then what you see will just be the byproduct of what you have allowed God to do. And that has been our approach to ministry, myself and First Lady. We want to build people. And then all this other stuff, it's going to naturally come. Because you got strong, discipled, disciplined people of integrity and honesty and commitment, all those things that you got, you got sound homes of commitment and love and unity, honoring God, then all this other stuff is going to come. Okay. All right. So, hey, thank you all for joining us. I can't tell you what a relief it is to share that with you all because, to hold that in, didn't hardly share that with anybody. The staff members just heard about this on last Thursday, and I held this in. That was one of my prayers. I prayed in prayer time. My wife and I, we talked and prayed about it, and we thank God for allowing us to be able to get to this point. Now there's more to come. My wife and I may be gone, but I pray that this just is the beginning of something that's going to impact our community even after we're gone. Okay. Okay, I'm looking at what Sister Kayla just had on here. Good evening, Sister Kayla. She said that they will have a sign-up sheet for the events for Fifth Sunday service. Thank you for reminding me of that, Sister Kayla. Our Fifth Sunday fellowship service is going to be, of course, this Fifth Sunday in this month. It's going to be similar to our resurrection service, worship service, word, teaching. After that, food, fellowship, fun, games. Oh, yeah. We're going to implement one of those large, scary water slides. That's the best way I can describe it. So we're going to have that as well. We're going to have a water slide out there for the kids. We're still working on making that playing field. We have a playing field area. As a matter of fact, it's supposed to be, I don't know if it was today or tomorrow. We're going to have a few loads of sand brought in, and we're going to spread that out real good and make it almost like a ball field type of thing. Won't be to that caliber, of course, but just want to get rid of some of the potholes and different things. We don't want anybody getting hurt. So we're working on that as well. And some other things, upgrades that we're doing to the property. Again, we want to make that something that is that can be utilized by our members and utilized by our community as well, as some have already been taken advantage of. That's so in case they plan to get wet. Going to have a water balloon toss as well. And hey, the weather is just right for it. It has been hot. So I want to say thank God for Sister Kayla, all of you, all the other people, staff, clerk, financial clerk, all of you, youth coordinator, I mean, all of you guys that just make, I told you, you make this ministry what it is. It's not a one person. It's not me and First Lady. It's not a personality. It's not about that. But it's about people that love God and love his people. So thank you for all your contributions, for making this ministry what it is. It is an honor and a privilege. It is easy, and I dare say this, it is easy to pastor in an environment like you guys have provided, because you love God first and you love people and kingdom work. So it is a joy. It is easy pastoring. That's not saying we don't have no challenges. I'm not saying we don't have no struggles, but shepherding, under shepherding, and leading and directing this congregation has been a absolute joy. Okay. I want to let you know that personally. I appreciate God for you all. Listen, if I could, and one day I want to do this, I can share this. I would like to have this type of setting where you can just kind of meet our staff members, where we can just have a camera set up, where we can just have staff members not only introduce themselves, but just have a discussion, talk. You would be amazed at the caliber of people who are behind the scenes that make all of this happen. And those of you that are coming on board, those that have connected yourselves with the ministry, hey, we're ready to plug you in. We want to see God use you, and you facilitate some things in the ministry as well. Hey, we all have something to contribute, and like I said, this is just the beginning, and I'm overjoyed by what God has already done thus far. Okay, I think I got everything. Give me a moment just to look real quick, because I thank Sister Kayla for reminding me of that, because I totally forgot to mention that. Appreciate that, Sister Kayla. Let's see. I think that's it. Okay, I think that's all. Can I say this personally, Brother Antonio? Brother Terrence Antonio? Hey, man. I think we're going to be coming up your way. I'll be reaching out to you pretty soon. My wife and I and some others have been talking about taking a little trip to New York. Okay. So we'll be reaching out to you, my brother. And we're going to take you up on that offer to kind of show us around a little bit. Okay. I thank God for Brother Terrence. He's been a consistent, faithful supporter of our ministry. Prayer wise, encouraging. I mean, being there with us, not necessarily in person, but hey, he's with us in spirit and prayer. He's online with us, and we appreciate you, man. And we're going to get a chance to come up and we're going to fellowship with you. And want to just enjoy the fellowship, show us the sights, okay? So we got that penciled in, and I'll be reaching out to you and let you know exactly when we're going to make that happen. So appreciate all of you that are on with us tonight. Thank you for spending time with us. Y'all spread this. This public, spread it. Let people know. I want this to be a thing in our Black community. I was looking for one of my books, but hey, my wife told me I get talking too long. But this is something that is not new, something that is not foreign to the Black church. The Historical Contributions of the Black Church is one of the books that I have here. And this was the norm for the Black church historically. Providing home loans for black veterans coming back from Vietnam. World War II, one of those, providing home loans and scholarships and all those things. This is not new. What I want to do is just get back to some of those things that help build our community. We got to get back to that. Okay. All right. So this is how we're going to start. This is our contribution. We're going to start right here with these two things that we announced tonight. So invite somebody to watch the replay. Tell them about it as best you can. If you can, explain it to them. But if they, if you want to point them back this way, you can. All right. So govern yourselves to all the announcements tonight. And hey, let's focus on the cause. Let's focus on the cause for our community, for our people of color, for our churches, for our families. And then you're going to see things change. You'll see the block change. You'll see Roundtree Center change. But events and speeches and marches alone will not change anything. We've got to be practical in our approach to change. I'm going to say that again. We have got to be more practical in our approach to real change. May God continue to strengthen your hands for the work that lies ahead, because we've got a lot of work that lies ahead, y'all. Grace and peace, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you all Sunday.
Thank you.